Hello everybody, Shannon Bangford in Portland, Oregon with Hobbit Piano Training Online. Today we're going to do a makeup lesson, a full online video lesson on how to play 4-note voicings in jazz 2-5-1 progressions. We're putting the 7th on each of these chords, and we're going to learn how to do it in our right hand and our left hand. So when we're doing it in our right hand, we're going to just keep the beat with the root, and we're doing it with our left hand. We're going to practice soloing and improvising or noodling modally with the major scale over the top of 2-5-1. So we're going to show it to you in a couple of keys, but then you can eventually transpose this and move it around the circle of fifths. So let's get started here. Our first 2-5-1 is, these are 4-note voicings. The first 2-5-1 is D minor 7 to G7 to C major 7. All right, and we're going to use root position on the D minor 7. So we put the 7th up on top here. Alright, excuse me. Alright, and then we're going to use an inverted G7, second inversion G7 to root position C major 7, okay? Alright, these are ideal voicings because when we move from the root position, D minor 7, these top two notes, the A and the C, they just crawl down in steps to this G and B here. So the C and A become G and B. The bottom two notes stay the same. It's a really easy move. And then the bottom two notes crawl down in steps to C and E. To C and E like this. So it looks like this. Alright, so these end up being root position. This is the middle one that's inverted, so let's talk about second inversion. So a second inversion G chord has a G in the middle, has the 5th, which is a D on the bottom, and the 3rd up here, and then the 7th is always a whole step away from the root. It's right underneath it here. Alright, and that's the F, and this F and D, they just carry over. They're like notes. The reason why this sounds so great and jazzy, the voice leading is built in to have half-step movement here. The C crawls down a half step to B. Alright? That A moves down a whole step. There's a half step right there from C to B. Alright, and then when you move from this chord to this chord, there's always a half step too. It's the F moving down a half step to the E. This F moves down to E. That's a half step. And then the bottom one is a whole step. So it's always the top note crawls down a half step, the bottom note goes down a whole step. This top note crawls down a half step, the bottom note crawls down a whole step. So that's why it's got great voice leading, as they would call it. Alright, so once you get that sort of worked out with the moves in your hand, it's very easy to transpose this because we know we're just sliding down the top two notes and then sliding down the bottom two notes. So if you wanted to try it in the next key, B flat, you'd start with C minor 7, then you'd crawl it down on top, and then you'd crawl the bottom two notes down like this. Alright, so I'm not going to go through all the keys. We're just going to show it to you at the start of cycle 1, which is the key of C, and the start of cycle 2, which is the key of G. Alright, so for practice purposes, if you're watching this as a video lesson or video makeup lesson, you just want to give yourself a beat on the roots of these chords right now. No fancy bass lines or anything. We'll just keep the root. So you should be doing this. D minor 7 to G7 to C major 7. Why is it major 7? Well, this 7th here on the C chord, here's your root. It's only a half step down from the root there, so that's a major 7th. The other 7ths are minor 7ths, so this C is a whole step down from the root D. And this 7th we already talked about is a whole step down. There's a note in between here from G to F. Alright, so this is the one that's a major 7th. So if you don't know what that is, a major 7th is just a half step down from the root. Alright, so we're going to keep a steady beat. And the ideal fingerings for the left hand here are 4 on the 2, or 4 on the 2, 1 on the root, and 5 on, 4 on the 2, 1 on the 5. Alright, and this is what you want to do. You want to practice keeping a steady beat. And then we're going to comp these chords in the right hand, which means we're going to make up rhythms. But the left hand has to learn to stay steady. We're going to loop it for a good minute or two at home, just getting used to these new chord shapes. Just be creative. Pretend like your right hand is taking a solo, but we're actually just going to be using the chords. It's a 4-measure loop, so we're just duplicating over here the 1 chord. All right, so that's how you do the 2-5 ones with 7ths and good voice leading. All right, let's try it in the key of G. So this is in G. This one is in C. It's the start of each of the 2-5-1 cycles that you can go through. If you're a student of mine, you have a sheet of these that we've been practicing. Okay, so in the key of G. A minor is the 2, to D7, to G major 7. Again, the major 7th is only a half step down from the root here, the F sharp on top. A minor 7, to D7, to G major 7. Alright, just to review that voice leading to show you it's the same. So the E and the G here, it's the G that crawls down a half step. These two notes move down. Like in thirds, parallel thirds. Alright, and then the bottom 2 notes, the C and the A. The C crawls down a half step to B, and the A crawls down to G. So it's the same voice leading. Sounds great. And all of Western harmony is based on voice leading or cadences that have half step movement. These little half steps crawling within the harmonies of the melodies or the chords that you have in the song. Alright, so same moves. Same exercise. So for about a minute or 2 each day, just practice grooving on this 2-5-1. We learn to keep our left hand steady on quarter notes. Alright, so this is exercise 1. If you're a student of mine out here in Portland or online, learn the right hand voicings in just these 2 keys, in the key of C and the key of G. Keep a steady root in your left hand of these. Keep a steady beat and practice improvising for a few minutes each day with the right hand, comping the chords, making up rhythms like it's solo. All right, that's exercise 1. Exercise 2 is going to be learning to play these same chord inversions in the left hand. Okay, and use whatever fingerings you're comfortable with. Crawl down a third, and we crawl this down a third too. Alright? So now we're going to take it, we're going to pretend like we don't have a bass player right now. And in exercise 2, we're going to play these chords, and then we're going to noodle with the major scale. Okay? So if we're in the key of C, we're going to use the C major scale. Alright? So this is the C major scale. And this one's going to be the G major scale. We'll just work on the first 2 keys of these cycles. Alright? For a lot of you, it's going to be new, even the idea of putting 7ths on chords. So you can do 4 beats of each chord like this. Alright, and again, the 1 is always duplicated here. So we go 2, 5, 7, and 1. Then we practice. Alright, to start, maybe hold the 2. Just sort of review your scale over this. And you can really hit any notes from the scale, alright? You can think of the chord tones. And sort of noodle between them. Very jazzy and cool, and it's this voice leading is great in the left hand. If you can imagine a beat here, so you want to set your metronome somewhere in the middle here, maybe around somewhere between 90 and 120. All right, and at first, let the metronome keep the beat, so you can just practice your noodling. So exercise 2, you're going to play these jazz 4-note chord voicings in the left hand and noodle with the scale in the right hand. Do this 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes a day. And you can play eighth notes or triplets in the right hand. So it could be triplet, 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 triplet. And really, you just keep it simple. Memorize the chords and just improvise. With the C scale. Alright, and then eventually you should be able to keep a steady beat in your left hand while improvising. This is harder because you're having to keep the beat. Just always remember that the one chord goes for 2 measures. Lots of looping on just one key. I know there's 12 keys, and there's a whole cycle you can go through. We're going to just do 1 or 2 keys a week, all right, and get used to these new voicings with the sevenths. All right, let's do the same thing in the key of G. All right, we don't want our chords to be too low, so down here I think it's going to be too muddy, so we'll move up a little bit in the keyboard. Play our chords right here around middle C. I find these voicings a little trickier because of this F sharp, so you kind of have to slide in maybe, or extend your hand out if you have bigger hands like this. But so I typically play it like this, and I slide my thumb in for the F sharp, and I adjust down here. So again, those notes are A, C, E, G. These two are crawling down in thirds or in steps, and then it was the bottom. So these two crawl down, and then the bottom two crawl down here. Half step down, and half step down. So there's half steps in there. One of them's a half step, one of them's a whole step. As you get to more advanced keys, it's kind of important to know that, because you're not just moving. You're not just moving in steps on the white keys. You're moving half step, whole steps. All right, so this is the G scale then, G major. And I'm going to noodle with this while I hold these chords. Again, I'll think of a beat. Let's go a little slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's kind of swing style usually. Da, 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 da. Steps and skips sound great. Oops. A minor 7 to D7. We want to get used to our hands in this shape. Eventually we might change this to just 2 or 3 note voicings. And then you can start to keep the beat for yourself. Noodle around with the G scale. Gotta give yourself time each day, 5 to 10 minutes each day to just practice improvising. We're trying to keep it simple by just using a simple major scale. Everybody, if you're at this stage, you've probably worked on almost all your major scales. So, all right, so good luck. Exercise 1, play the chords in your right hand and keep a steady beat in your left hand. Exercise 2, play the chords in your left hand and noodle or improvise with the major scale in your right hand. If you're using this as your video lesson for the week, good luck, and I expect to review this with you in person at our next lesson. Thanks.